Hey everybody out there in BeastNet land. Brother Boggs checking in. We had some computer issues the last couple of weeks and a whole lot of stuff going on in our charity work. Just wanted to give you an update. We'll be back doing episodes weekly here shortly. And for now, go ahead and have a good listen here to Pretty Mike with the OCR Trainer discussing some upcoming changes to her training program and checking in with Mike on his.
How you been?
I've been okay. Busy, 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 busy. How have you been?
I've been okay. I had a rough time. I spent a month in Spokane for work, and that was a lot. But
Yeah, that is a lot.
yeah, but yeah, I quit that job and started a new one. So
I saw that. Something about Alaska?
it's the main office is in Alaska.
Oh, okay. But you're not
I,
moving to Alaska.
no, no, the
Gonna
main.
say you spent so much time trying to get to Texas.
Yeah, there's no way I'm going to Alaska. So, but yeah, so the main office is in Alaska. Most of my work will actually be right here. So.
Perfect.
So I have that's like actually one of the things I'm running into right now is my office is this is also my work office, so everything's
Oh, okay.
so I've been added another computer, everything's off kilter and not quite the way it normally is. So I'm trying to get it to where it's supposed to be. So
Well, hey, at least this means you don't have to eat lunch in your car, right?
nah, nah, no, I can just what's actually been nice is like I'll get up in the morning, like I've done the last I mean today, um, pretty much got up, went into my garage, jumped on the bike, rode for an hour, came in, worked for a couple hours, went back out, did my VR workout for half an hour, came back in. So it's like I can take my breaks and just go do whatever. So
Perfect.
yeah, the only one that's going to be difficult is this one. I've still got to figure out how to get because it's this the pool is a half an hour away.
Okay.
So yeah, so that's the hard one is the swimming. I mean, it's coming up. I mean, it's less than a month,
Less
and
than a
then
month already.
we're doing a half iron. So we'll see. It's the month in February hurt me and that. I found a place to swim, but even I was working 7 days a week, 10 hours a day, pretty much the whole month. And so I mean, by the time I got off work, I was wiped. So I went to the pool, I think 4 times over the month. But I got like an Anytime Fitness membership. So I could go at anytime, it didn't matter. I could just get in there. So, and I went there at least 3 times a week and I'd usually get on the bike for an hour and then run for an hour on the treadmill and then go back to the hotel, take a shower, and go to bed.
Okay.
So I try to get a little bit in. I mean, I did the half marathon in Vegas, the rock and roll half, um, and surprisingly, just under 3 hours, 2 hours and 58
Awesome.
minutes. So, so for me, it's that. I mean, it's not my best, but it's not my worst. So
Right. Well, you've done a 4.5 hour marathon. So,
yeah, it's been a while. I need to get back to
yeah,
it, but
you
I
can
think
get back there.
well, and I think this is going to be a huge help because that was one thing in 2020 when I got there was because I was working very similar to where I am now, where I could take a break, go out to the garage, jump on the treadmill. I think I'm going to need a better treadmill or find a better track that's closer around here that I can just go outside and run. Um, but that was a nice part when in 2020, I could walk across the street and there was a park and I could go run, it was a 5 mile loop that I could run. So I got used to that and, being able to do that on breaks and stuff like that. So I can just take breaks, do my workouts. And I think I just got to get a schedule and get into it and really get going. So I think the Ironman, my goal right now is to finish, but I think I'm still gonna go for the goal of it's either gonna be this November or next year. I'm gonna do it full.
Okay.
So which is gonna mean I'm gonna definitely have to push my training.
Yeah.
Which, speaking of training, I saw you moved. You got to not you didn't move personally, but your gym moved.
Yeah, so I am working out of a new studio. It is, around the corner, not even half a mile away from my last studio. So it's not actually a big change for my clients in terms of like location.
Yeah.
It is a big change in terms of space, equipment availability, mindset, um, much better for my mental well-being. Um, not going to get into the whole situation on how like the inner workings of the studios,
Yeah.
but ultimately somebody that I have known since I started in fitness when I moved to Boston, was opening up a new space. And he said, "Hey, Megan, I would love to have you come over." And then um, he was previously at the other space as well. When he left, it opened up a space in the studio, and this whole like power struggle started happening amongst all of the trainers, where it's like, you know, we were just like fighting for equipment and fighting for space. And I kid you not, there was this happened 2 Mondays in a row where I was training my client at 7 a.m. and there was a guy that trained a client at 6 a.m. and 8 a.m. And he really liked a specific squat rack because by being in that squat rack, you also have access to the cable column. And because he liked that squat rack for the 7 a.m. hour, he decided he was just going to sit right there in the squat rack and watch cartoons. 2 weeks in a row, I told the owner after week one, he sent out a mass text to everybody and was like, "Hey guys, like, remember if you're not training a client, like, just, step out of the space. You can go and like sit in a corner, like read a book, sit on your phone. You can go over to Starbucks. If you want to work out and there's space, like feel free. You can work out. That's not a problem. But like if you're not going to use the space, step out of it so other people can use it." So I was like, "Great, awesome, thank you." Then come the next Monday, and this guy he spent a little bit of time sitting on the bench in the squat rack, and then he moved to the floor in front of the squat rack. So we would have to step over him, me and my client. My client had already had an altercation with him before because he's like really loud. And oh my gosh, I stole his squat rack one day and he wasn't very happy. So he was gonna, talk really, really loud to the point where my client was like, "Excuse me, I have a headache. You are really loud. I don't need to hear your conversation." Like,
Yeah.
so I was like, "Yeah, I'm not going to have her train in the same space where he is." Well, he was sitting in that squat rack and we were using the cable column, and she decided she was going to step back all the way to where he was to let him know, "You do not need to be there." And all he did was scoot back further into the squat rack and like, "Oh, I'm just going to keep sitting here." Um, so yeah, when that happened, I sent a message to the owner and was like, "Listen, I can't do this." The professionalism in the studio has significantly declined. I need to um, I need to keep my clients' comfortability top priority, and this is not acceptable. I have to go elsewhere. So unfortunately, I took my 120 sessions a month and left the studio. So I feel bad because that was a lot of money. I was probably paying their entire rent with myself alone, but I have moved over to a new studio space. And that person who, again, I knew since day one of working in fitness in Boston, he not only invited me over, but then he was like, "Hey, Megan, I'm going to be doing a photo shoot for promotional work, marketing materials. I would love to have you come and be involved. And I was like, wait, you're actually like investing money into my business to like take professional photos of me to then put on your website, and you're saying I can use them on my website, my social media. Like it feels really good being like respected in an industry, especially as a female in the fitness space. It's hard to feel respected amongst peers because again, a lot of people have this like competition thing with other trainers where it's like just because you're a private trainer does not mean you're my competition. I am not trying to steal your clients. You're not trying to steal my clients. I could learn from you. You could learn from me. And that's something that he and I both have really always agreed upon. And like we bounce ideas off of each other. And it feels good that he respects me and wants to invest in my business because he knows if I continue to thrive as a trainer and would prefer to have all of my business in one space, then I will continue to pay to be at his space. So it feels a lot better for me.
You thriving is going to make him thrive. And that's
Yeah.
one thing. I mean, if you do well, it means he's going to do well. I mean, it's always got me how much trainers compete with each other. And I'll be honest, if I have a choice, 9 times out of 10, I'm picking a female trainer. And it's not because of any whatever. It's because most of the time, in my experience, male trainers want to build muscle. They're constantly immediately like, you got to buff up and you got to get all big. And it's like, I don't want to be big. I want to be functional. I want to do that. And most time I find that in my experience, the ones I've dealt with, the female trainers are the ones that listen to you.
Yeah, and that's what it comes down to, honestly. When this whole power struggle happened, and I'm not gonna like make it, men versus women and whatever else, it was the males at this studio that were having this power struggle. And when I talked to the person who now owns the new studio and I told him what was happening, like honestly, it was always the women that were more professional in the space. They were always more courteous. And I'm not saying that like there aren't male trainers out there that are courteous and professional and don't look at people as competition. Again, the person who owns the studio, he is a male. He has been in fitness for a very long time. And he sees that we are all colleagues and not competitors. And I mean, with everything I do in my professional career, whether it was the stuff that I did with Spartan or other race brands, USA OCR, when I was at Equinox and I was teaching classes, I want to promote the profession and I want to educate other trainers. Like I have always said, my legacy, it, in terms of OCR, my legacy in this sport is not as an athlete. My legacy is as a coach and as an educator. I want to be the person that is writing the manual on how to train for obstacle course racing. Spoiler alert, I've been very busy doing that. But I don't want to just pull in clients and I mean, I have clients that I've been training for over 10 years, so I'm not a revolving door. But in the sport like obstacle course racing, unfortunately, we are in a downtime in this sport, and my obstacle course racing clients are on the decline as my longevity and functional fitness and just I want to move and live better, healthier, longer. Those clients are on the up and up and up, and they're sticking around. So I want to not only, have clients that see the value in long-term training and longevity, but I also want to teach other trainers how to train people for whatever they're going to do.
Well, and that's like I said, my biggest thing's always been functional. I want to be functionally fit. It's one of the mistakes I made when in 2020 when I lost all the weight. I ran. I did cardio like there was like no tomorrow. I was running 100 to 180 miles a month. But then all of a sudden I went to go do a Spartan race and I'm like, okay, lift this. And I'm like, I can't. So, I mean, I had the speed, I had the, you know, everything else and the endurance, but I didn't have the muscle anymore. So it's that mixture of getting both, you know. And by the way, if you're writing a book, I expect to be one of the first people to be able to buy it, and I want a signed copy. So,
Oh God, I wish I had the time to write a book. No, I am writing, and it's not just me. I will give 100%, well, not 100, but I will give full credit to my committee because we have had to completely rewrite the coaching certification for USA OCR. And it is a massive headache, but like I love doing it. It's so rewarding and seeing what we're doing now compared to what we had done.
mhm.
And no disrespect to anybody who has worked on it in the past, I was not given any of the material. None of the material we taught last year was then forwarded to me for when I took over the role of development chair. So when I said I want to get our certification online so we can start certifying coaches quicker and really promote this certification, you know, selling it and boosting USA OCR. I want to be able to pay for our coaches to go to Sweden. I want to pay for our athletes to go to Sweden. I want to pay for technical officials. I want to give our entire national team all of these resources, but we need to make money. And one of the best and most efficient ways to do that is get the coaching certification off the ground and have that passive income coming in from saying like, here, go do your certification. You can do it online. It's going to be X amount of hours. Once you've done it, you've done it. You'll have a certification coming your way. Put the initials right behind your name. But none of the material came to me. So when I was like, okay, guys, it's time to do this, but I don't have any of it, and we have to rewrite everything. Um, we and again, credit Rich Borgatti is awesome. He is a coach on the East Coast here in Boston. He has written a book on obstacle horse race training, and he also works in IT at Harvard. So he's the one that I tasked with putting everything online. Well, when we decided or when we realized we didn't have the materials, I was like, oh my gosh, how are we going to get this going? He fired up Chat GPT and put in the um the breakdown of what like USA Track and Field is
Mhm.
doing and said generate an outline of topics for USA OCR certification similar to USA Track and Field. And like that's where Chat GPT stopped. It was literally just like, we want to make sure we are hitting the exact same type of content that you're going to get from a USA Track and Field, USA Triathlon, USA Swimming, USA Gymnastics. So we are developing out this 10 module certification where we're covering things like obviously strength, endurance, obstacle technique, injury prevention. We're talking about psychology of coaching. We're talking about specific conditions. So, you know, para athletes, yeah, we're talking about you. You know, youth athletes, yeah, we have a little bit on you. Senior athletes, yeah, we're going to talk a little bit more about you. We're going to talk about race day preparations. We're going to hit all of these different topics. Whereas with the last certification, we went into a gym for maybe 6 hours and we were like, hi, we're USAOCR. We're talking about strength training. We're talking about a little bit of running training. We're talking about a little obstacle training. Thank you. Have a great day. Like, again, it was good. We put on a good certification, but now we're elevating it. So that is taking up a lot of my time.
I can imagine. But sometimes it is almost better, because I'm kind of having to do this with the new company that I am for like the EHS stuff, to start from scratch.
Yeah.
Because you don't have to change or, really try and build off something that was already there that somebody else did. You can just say, okay, you know, just we're going to
Yeah.
start from scratch and we're going to build our version of this. And for you, and I've always done that with teaching, is if I build my own training program, it is so much easier for me to follow because it goes with my brain. Like the
Yeah.
way my brain works, I can really teach the class the way I want to rather than trying to build off somebody else's, baby.
Yeah. And like I said, again, no disrespect to anybody that worked on it previously, anybody that took it previously. We put out good material. I stand behind everything that we taught last year. If we are comparing what, again, one of the other national federations are doing for their coaching, and then you look at what USA OCR did, you can understand why USA OCR was not charging as much for coaching certification. And if we are going to be a national federation, we need to provide content that is at the quality of all of the other national federations. We are putting in a fight to be a legitimate sport. I don't want them to look at a quick 6-hour certification where people, I don't even remember what they paid, but you're not really paying for much of anything off of that, even if we had a full room. So I would much rather say, yeah, we're going to charge $500, $700 for an extensive certification, and you're going to walk out of there identifying like specifics about all of these different things in obstacle course racing. And I can always bring it back to the para athletes because there is no resources right now for adaptive athletes in this sport. And I want people to say, I'll give an example because one of my friends works with an athlete who is legally blind and he really enjoys Spartan races. And I went out on a trail run with them once, and my friend was acting as a guide saying, hey, like, watch your step here, whatever else. And we were talking, and I said, this was the week before I went to, um, it was the week before the national championship race. So it's a funny story. I went out to the trails, and as I was driving, I see my friend who, I mean, for years we would trail run together, and he stopped racing, and then he stopped coming out and running, and like he'd constantly be like, I really need to get back into running, but then he wouldn't. So I saw him running with somebody, and like I'm like honking my horn, I'm calling him, I'm like, hey, like, stop. I'm coming too. So finally, like, I pulled up right in front of them and I said, I'm coming. He's like, oh, hey. So, yeah, his friend was legally blind and we were talking, and he had done a couple of Spartan races. And he's like, I really want to do more Spartan races. So I was telling him, well, next week I'm going out to the national championship race, and we're actually having our first ever competitive para waves. And he's like, that is amazing. Like, that is a dream come true. I would love to be able to get involved, but I wouldn't even know where to get started with that. Well, now we have something that we can send people to where, a coach isn't just like, taking a shot in the dark and saying, here, I guess this is how we're going to train some para athletes. If there are people that are very familiar with specific conditions, they know how to train para athletes. But I'm an athletic trainer, and if a para athlete comes to me I would be the first to say I've never trained a para athlete. I haven't done any kind of work with adaptive athletes. So we're going to need to figure this out together. And maybe a lot of coaches might not have the confidence to say that. They might
No,
either say, "Oh yeah, let's do it. Let's go. Let's see what we can
we'll
come
figure
up
it out
with."
as we go.
Yeah. Or they might say, "I'm not touching that." So being able to have the humility of being like, you know, let's go find the resources. Oh, USAOCR, they include a little bit about para in their training cert, and they're going to then also talk to me about specifics in terms of all of this other stuff. That is awesome. Like, I want people to come to us and say, yeah, I want to go through all of this stuff too. And then we can justify charging them, however much
Yeah,
it's going to cost.
which makes sense. And I mean, it's one of those things that I think that's one of the hardest things. I mean, when it comes to like, I mentioned para athletes, it really depends on what it is. Why, para athlete, I mean, people don't think about all the differences. You got everything from, um, cerebral palsy to, blind to, paraplegics to dwarfism to all sorts of different, conditions.
We were talking today, and one of the people in our committee said, he's worked with a lot of veterans, and do traumatic brain injuries fall into a category? And I've had to text our para committee and say, hey, just wondering, where do traumatic brain injuries fall in terms of para? And in writing instructions for people with traumatic brain injuries and how to train them, like, what should we be saying for obstacle course racing? Because I can speak from experience. My sister's ex-husband, so my nephew's father, who isn't in the picture, he was he was deployed for numerous tours, and on his first tour of duty, his job was to disarm roadside bombs, and he was in multiple explosions. And by the time all of the stuff happened with him and my sister moving back to the States, he actually had such bad traumatic brain injury and PTSD that he ended up going AWOL and just like ran away. And when they found him, they did a CT scan on his head, and it looked like there was a sheet of plastic over his brain. It's like, he's been discharged from the military, he's on permanent disability. He his cognitive functions are not where they should be. And those people should fall into para.
Mhm.
But like, what, because we can't see them physically missing something, are we not going to include it? We don't know.
No.
And these are questions that we need to be asking because this sport is still so new. We need to be more inclusive, and we need to provide people with the resources to make sure that every athlete is not only included, but they are safe.
Yeah. And I mean, that's it. I mean, that's one of the things I think that's the hardest, doing the races with more scars like I have. It's, you have some of those racers that you do stuff with that don't have any outward, you know, no outward, as they call them, scars, but they're there. I mean, they may have, some injury or illness or condition that you can't see. And I think that's the hardest part a lot of times. Everyone looks at someone like, when you see someone pulling their handicap spot and they get out and look like they're perfectly healthy. And it's like, yeah, they might be for 50 feet. And
Yeah.
then everybody says no. It's like, I've had friends with fibromyalgia. They look perfectly healthy, but after about 100 feet of walking, they can't breathe.
Yeah.
But that's going to be the hard one, is finding, those people. How do we help them?
I will say, shout out to Molly Crowley. She has put together all of our information for para, and she has done a phenomenal job. She works with Operation Enduring Warrior. So she goes out with them and she trains, adaptive para athletes. She is working to get more para athletes onto the national team. Like she is doing the Lord's work when it comes to para athletes. And she wants to put together a full certification specific for para. And I said, yes, let's do that for USA OCR because right now there is nothing. And we are trying to build para. But I digress. Wanted to give her her flowers. She is doing a phenomenal job. Some of the material, and spoiler alert, sorry guys, you'll see this in the um, certification, and maybe it's good marketing for something that isn't even ready to be promoted yet. But she talks about different training implications, but not just about like the physical training, but like the mental aspect of it and how a big part of working with a para athlete, whether it's in training or if it's out on course, is how they're going to respond to some of these obstacles. Could this trigger some PTSD? Could this cause some emotional responses for them? Are they gonna clam up or are they going to rise? And what is that sense of accomplishment going to do to them then? And there's so much psychology that goes into para athlete. And, as a coach and a trainer, like psychology plays a little role in it, but not to the extent that, she's talking about in her para athlete guidebook. It's incredible. You really need to approach training with so much more empathy and resiliency. And you're lifting that athlete up both sometimes physically, but 100% metaphorically.
Yeah. And that is one of the things I found a lot of times it is, it's that mental side of just keeping them going. I've had it a couple times, where I've, helped another athlete that was having issues. And sometimes it's just a matter of mentally getting them to mentally feel like they can do it. I've seen so
Mhm.
many times over the years where you got someone like won't do an obstacle. Like I can remember when Bender first came out. Had a
Mhm.
friend of mine that was deathly terrified of Bender. So the first couple times to get her to really feel like she was comfortable going over it, I would actually climb up behind her and hold on so that she felt like if she fell backwards, I was there to hold her. So and got her up and over the obstacle a couple times and did that once or twice. And then all of a sudden it's like she felt comfortable like she could do it. And there was no physical stopping her. It was the mental. The mental of
Yeah.
just it can be a scary obstacle the first time couple times you do it.
It's terrifying still to this day. I don't understand why they have the crash pads on the front side of it and not the back side.
Yeah, the part where you fall.
Spartan, we've been saying this for how long? Put crash pads on both sides.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But
Hey,
yeah,
I did you see the video of me doing it over the weekend?
I did not. I apologize. It has been an insane week.
I did it in
It's been an insane year.
I did it in a Bucky's outfit the entire both races.
Oh, I did see pictures of you in a Bucky's outfit.
I wasn't
I,
going to. I was just going to do it for the teddy bear crawl in the morning, but then it was cold, and I'm like, screw it, I'm leaving Bucky then.
I love it. Midnight has decided that my Bucky's onesie is one of her favorite toys. So
Hey,
I might
you new one.
need a new one. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, next time you're in Texas.
Yeah, okay. Right now, I see no reason to travel to Texas.
Why not?
I know. I love you. I hate your state.
It has a few issues.
Hey, we're in America. There are a few issues everywhere.
Yes, there are. So,
Yeah.
yes, there are. Yeah. Oh, how's everything else going? You getting what races you got coming up? Are you more focused on the training and all that? Are you kind of
So this is the tough part. Like, I know what races I want to do. Am I signed up for anything? No. Like, I am qualified elite contender at World's Toughest Mudder. This is my goal. Like, I need to go and I need to wear that black bib. I don't have anybody that's going to fly over to England with me. It's also in June. That's a terrible time frame. Like, I am nowhere near ready in June for a 24-hour race.
Yeah. You build
There's
up to
not
that.
enough time to build up to that. So it's like, that's deterring me. But like, I really want to go, but I just can't get motivated for that time frame.
Yeah.
And then like I know that I really want to run the Killington Ultra. One, I'm still I'm demotivated with Spartan because there hasn't been really any changes of anything. And it's just so stale at this point. And it's like, what? You're gonna make the terrain more difficult? And like that's the only thing you're gonna change about it because you want Killington Ultra to always be the most terrifying race in the US. Like, I'm not scared of the mountain. It's going to be a mental grind, but like I I fully believe that I would be able to finish it. Right now, I'm not motivated to finish it. And that's a problem. I also really want to run the Jersey Ultra, but like end of April is a little early for an ultra. So it's like it could be a training ultra, but then like I'm training for that for what? 2 months I have World's Toughest Mudder if I buy tickets. And then a few months before Killington, it's just so spaced out. The schedule isn't set up to have a real legitimate build like it has in the past.
Yeah.
You know, the Holy Grail is supposed to be a build up to World's Toughest Mudder at the end of the year. You know, I every other Spartan race, like we could build up to that big race. And it's like there isn't anything between Jersey and Killington on the East Coast. Well, maybe Palmerton, but then I have to run it like 10 times. Not realistically 10 times, like more like three, but still. It's like, but that, the heat and the humidity is miserable. Plus, do I really want to pay for that many laps of Palmerton? So, like, the schedule isn't set up like a real sports schedule where I can build up to peak in time for Killington. So that's just very demotivating for me. I don't want to race just to race. And like now that I have Midnight, I really want to keep running with Midnight. I'm gonna have her in a canine cross race at the end of the month. And then like I saw in one of like the running with dog groups that I'm in on Facebook, there are a couple dog obstacle course races and they actually have like elite categories and like prize money and one's in like Michigan in June. And I'm like, maybe I'll just throw Midnight in the truck and Midnight and I will go to a obstacle race in Michigan. They have an endurance one where you have to do 3 laps of a 5K course. Like, I could do that. That sounds like so much more fun to me than any Spartan race right now.
Yeah. Well, it's like we've
Yeah.
always said, it's about who you're racing with. And I mean, you know,
Yeah, I mean, almost everybody is gone from the racing scene at this point. You know, unfortunately, Spartan hasn't done themselves any favors lately. They've lost everybody, and they're moving all of our favorite races to, impossible destinations or time frames or
mhm,
whatever else, and then taking things away to the point that nothing makes sense.
no. It's interesting. And then, like you said, there's when's the last time you saw a new obstacle on one of their courses?
Yeah,
I mean, I still do them, but pretty much the only time is we've talked about, pretty much the only time I do it is when I'm with the team. If there's an
yeah,
adaptive athlete and More Hearts and Scars says, hey, we need you out here, cool. So I did Houston because they wanted me to help with their adaptive athletes and for the teddy bear crawl. And
Yeah.
that I'm like, yeah,
You know why I haven't signed up for Jersey yet in April? Because I have not found anybody that can commit to going to Jersey in April. And I'm like, lodging is absolutely terrible out there. There are no options. So, like, do I really want to pay for a hotel that is an hour away from the venue after having to run, you know, an ultra on a mountain in the middle of nowhere? Like, I don't know what condition I'm going to be in, but I do know that one, I hate driving at night. And two, there have been plenty of times where I have finished a race that I overexerted myself on and I can't walk. It is not safe for me to drive. If I don't have anybody else with me, it's not safe for me to be able to get myself to somewhere to go to bed because the lodging is so far away.
And that is the hard part. And I get it because a lot of times they need the room, they need that to be able to have the ultra and all that. But you run into that quite a bit with oh hey, the race is we'll use Vegas for an example. Forever, the race is in Vegas. No, it's not. It's in Arizona. It was
Right.
an hour and a half drive away. And the very first year I didn't realize that. And they only had, I think it was only a super that year, the very first year I did it. There wasn't even a sprint the next day. And I flew down there and stayed in Vegas. And I spent more time driving than I did on the course.
Mhm.
And it's just insane. It's like, come on, guys. I mean, I get it, but try and find, get some way so you don't have to drive as far.
Yeah. And like, I do think I'm gonna sign up for Killington. I've said I'm gonna run Killington. We need to have our coaching applications for USAOCR closed, which they close Friday. We need to make decisions about our coaches. We need to make sure that they get signed up to go because Sweden and obstacle course racing world championships for FISO and World Obstacle is that same weekend as Killington. So September 11th through the 14th or whatever. So as soon as I know that the coaching situation is taken care of, then I need to figure out our technical official situation, make sure that we have somebody that we can send there, get them signed up. Then I will feel comfortable enough to say I can sign up for Killington because already I do way too much stuff for USAOCR and we have very specific personnel that we have to send and we don't have enough people volunteering or willing to pay to travel to Sweden. I get it. We should not have to ask coaches to pay for their travel. I'm doing what I can to get them funding. I can't guarantee that we can cover all of their travel, and that might be a deal breaker for people. And if it comes down to it and we need coaches and nobody else is willing to pay for it, I'm worried that I'm going to have to then go to Sweden.
Well, I mean, that's why you went to Dalton, Georgia last year.
Exactly. Don't get me wrong, I really want to go to Sweden. I really want to be at obstacle course racing world championships. If I was going to go to Sweden, I would have signed up as an athlete because I really want to go. I really want to run toughest, but I need to let other people step up.
Mhm.
And, you know, people just aren't stepping up in the way that we want them to. And thank you to everybody who has applied already. I'm not talking to you. I'm just venting. I'm venting at this point. Um, I want people to want to be a part of USAOCR and I want to give them responsibilities And I definitely don't want people to ever see me acting as a coach or a technical official or an athlete and saying, oh, well, Megan is on this committee or this committee or this committee. So it's all preferential treatment, because it is not. I love the sport. I love our national federation. I want to represent our country, but I want other people to have opportunities and to take opportunities and elevate themselves through the sport.
Yeah. Which I mean, it's good. I mean, it's good. And I mean, that's something you don't see a lot where people are like, oh, I'm going to take every opportunity I can, take it from everyone else. Where you're giving other people saying, hey, step up, it's there.
Yeah. I don't know how much more I can do to say, hey, people, come step up, come join us. We are the National Federation. We need more volunteers. We have opportunities for everybody. We can only continue to elevate this sport with more people. If we don't have people volunteering, the sport is going to continue on a downward trend. We don't want it to be.
Yeah.
We want it to go up.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I'm racing this year.
Yeah.
That was the long story of it all.
I mean, sometimes it's good to take that little bit of time and focus on other things, and then maybe come back with more vigor next year, or
I
what?
really want to race. I love racing. But right now I'm just not motivated. And I think it's just burnout. But like legitimately this past weekend, I went to Florida. Before I left, I saw Savage was having their race in Florida. I looked it up. I'm like, oh, it's like an hour from Tampa. I'm flying into Tampa. I texted my friend, was like, oh, it's Savage weekend. And he's like, yeah, I'm not doing it. I said, okay, good. Then I don't feel pressured to do it. And I
Yeah.
didn't do it.
One of these days I'd like to, just because I've never done a Savage race.
Savage is fun. I would definitely recommend. And like, I would have gone to Savage. I would have stepped into Savage Pro, even though I'm nowhere near ready right now, just because I love Savage. I want to support them. Um, but I also don't want to feel the pressure of like, there is a race and I need to go do it.
Yeah. Which, I mean, heck, you've done quite a few races, so I mean, you get a weekend with that too. So,
No. Yeah.
then you get to hang out on the beach with Midnight and just have fun.
Um, yeah, unfortunately, Midnight didn't come to the beach. Midnight didn't come to Florida. Midnight is with my parents, and she is being a total menace, as she always is. But she is so incredibly smart. So, like, I really want to get her service dog trained and then just bring her everywhere.
Yeah, you should. Yeah, no, she seems like I want to meet her someday, but someday.
Oh, she is such a great girl. Like, literally, the other week, I was coming home from work, and she really enjoys looking out the window. And for some reason, the window to my apartment was open, like the blinds were open. I live on the first floor. I would never open the blinds. That's creepy. People can walk it, like just watch my window. But as I'm walking past my window, there she is just standing, staring, like big bug-eyed, and she sees me. And she's like, so then I come in the front door of the building, and I always shut the front door of the building before I open my apartment door, because if she gets out, she's gone in an instant. And as I'm shutting that door, I hear my apartment door open, and she comes and like tackles me, and I'm like, Midnight, what are you doing out here? I get into my apartment, and a friend was in my apartment at the time, and they're in the bathroom, and they like, are you home? Like, you didn't just open the window for or the door for Midnight? Like, no, what are you talking about? I said, Midnight just opened the door by herself. Like, legitimately had to like turn the handle and like pull it open to get out. She's so
That's
smart.
that is too smart. Yeah.
She's scary smart, like very scary smart. When she's a menace, she knows exactly what she's doing. And this weekend, right before the Dropkick Murphys show, I was standing on the rail waiting for the band to come on, and I get a text from my mom. I had like sent her pictures because I went out to Florida to visit the band, and like I texted my friend who was on tour with them, who I hadn't seen in a while, and I was like, "Hey, I'm in Clearwater. Like, let's go get coffee." So we took a picture. We hung out. Well, I sent it to my family. It was like, "George says hi," and my mom texts back and is like, "Oh, that's so great that George was able to meet up with you. You've got such a great spot for the show. Midnight won't stop barking in our face, and we don't know what she wants." And I'm like, I text back, um, if you took Midnight out on a walk and she's still barking in your face, she's warning you that she's about to be a menace. Like she is about to be a menace. She is bored and you are not providing her enough entertainment. She's going to be a menace. So then the show starts. I call my mom the next morning. I really call Midnight, but I have to call my mom's phone to call Midnight. And she answers. And the first thing she says is, "Oh my gosh, thank you so much for telling me that Midnight was about to become a menace. I turned to your dad and said, Megan says Midnight's about to be a menace." And sure enough, we turn our head and she is standing on the kitchen table trying to get into something. She's like an 80-pound dog.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, like, I guess we just don't know how to decipher all of her barks. Like, so then as I'm on the phone with her, then Midnight starts whining in her face. And my mom's like, "Come on, Midnight, let's go outside." And she looks back into the phone because we're on FaceTime, and she looks at me, she's like, "I don't think this is the I want to go out bark." Like, no, it's not. That is once again, I'm so bored. I need to do something. So I sent her a brand new puzzle, and it's like a caboodle could it's some weird thing. I guess it's like a kid's puzzle that they now are also making it for dogs. So it has these different shapes and little bubbles. And I sent training treats. So you move these pieces, put the treat in, and then you can like move the pieces around on the board.
Yeah,
And
we have a few of those.
yeah, so Midnight got it the first time, and my mom said she had it figured out within 5 minutes. She knows exactly which pieces she can take out or that she can move around, and she figured it out like instantly. Like, great. Like, okay, mom, I guess you really need to do more with the dog. Like, give her tricks or something. Like, you can't just let this dog back into the backyard. You actually need to walk her. You need to take her to the trails. You need to let her sniff everything.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's like a lot of times with dogs, when a dog's being bad, it's because it's bored. And people
Yeah,
don't figure that out.
yeah, and that's exactly what it is. She's a Shepsky. They're some of the smartest dogs.
Yeah. Yeah, our dogs do that. If you're not paying enough attention to them, they'll find something you like and chew on it. And then bring it to you while they're chewing on it to say, look what I did because you weren't paying attention to me.
Oh, Midnight will grab something, bring it to you, and just stand just far enough away that you can't grab it. But you can tell if it's a I really want this versus a hey, I know I'm not supposed to have this. Because usually if it's like I know I'm not supposed to have this, she will run and just want you to chase. But I really want to have this is like she's gonna hide in the corner and chew on it. And she doesn't want you to see.
Yeah. Animals are fun. Most of the time they're
I
better than
miss her.
yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm really excited to get racing with her. because I think she is going to be phenomenal at it.
That'll be good.
And
That'll be good.
that is my motivation for racing this year. Get Midnight onto more courses.
And that'll get her going and get her burn up some energy.
Mhm.
And I think she'll have a blast.
Yeah, she's gonna have so much fun.
Can't wait to see those pictures.
I know.
I know. All right. Well, it's been a while since we talked, so I was so glad to finally get to talk to you because, you know, both of us have had crazy things going on in our lives.
I
And
know. And I needed this for my own sanity, so thank you.
I did too. So we're gonna have to do this sooner and not wait.
Yes.
Um,
Yes, like a pre-Ironman
yeah,
episode. Make
yeah,
sure to get you fully mentally ready. One of the modules that I was putting together today while I was sitting on my bike doing some non-impact cardio was talking about race day and race planning and setting up the actual race plan to go over with, I mean, it's for coaches, so to go over
yeah.
with clients and teach them like, this is how you figure out what you need to be doing on race day or during the race. And these are the things that help you stay centered.
And that's
So,
kind of what I've been working on is like the nutrition, like we talked about last time, because I'm really horrible about that. Like I did the Spartan races this weekend, and when I got home Sunday night, everything I packed Friday and put in my pack was still there because I didn't need any of it. Um,
mhm.
because I'm horrible about that. So I've been working on the bike when I'm pedaling. I have everything set up so that as if I was racing, like, okay, here's, my fruit pouch and any other snacks and drinks that I'm gonna have so that I can do the ride and train without ever having to get up from the bike and still have everything set so that race day I'm ready. I know what I'm gonna eat, what I'm gonna drink, and have a plan to make sure that I'm hydrated and fueled. So
Okay, well, let's plan to meet and like actually set up your race plan before your Ironman.
it's
But like,
swim, bike, run. The plan.
I mean, let's talk about little things like mantras, making sure you have all of the right gear, your fueling and hydration timelines. Maybe check out the map if you have access to it and take a look and say, okay, this is going to be a little bit, um, this is where I can push, or this is where I need to conserve energy, or whatever else, because so much more can go into it than just swim, bike, run.
Yeah, I know there's a lot more to it. So yes, we'll definitely have to have a episode before that where we talk about everything.
Yes, definitely. And who knows, maybe I'll have some good news about when we can actually launch this coaching cert.
Right on. Hopefully. All right.
Awesome.
Hopefully I'll talk to you soon. And thank you as always.
Of course, it was so nice to talk to you and congrats on the new job.
Thank you. I think it's gonna be good because it gives me a chance to train more, to work my training around work, and I think I'm just gonna be happier. Mentally, I think it's gonna be a huge, huge boost. So
Good. I'm so happy for you.
yeah, thank you. And congrats on the new studio, and hopefully that works as well too.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm excited for it.
All right. Perfect. So we'll talk soon.
Yes. Have a great night.
You too.
Bye.